to another episode of the Threefold Collective podcast. My name is Jay Cruz.
And I'm Julie Cruz.
And we have been absent for a long time. 6 weeks. What happened in the past 6 weeks? It's like, well, we all know what's happened. This whole COVID-19 thing, which is ridiculous. Hopefully all you guys out there are doing well and your families are healthy. If not, you know, our thoughts and prayers go out to you.
Yeah.
When this all started, like, it was like the second week of me being home, like stay-at-home dad.
Yes. I had just gotten back from New York. It was a lot.
Yeah. And the kids were like, well, hey, you're stay-at-home dad. Take us to the park. Let's go play. And I was like, okay, let's go. So we took them. We didn't. Julie was working. She was like super busy. It was the end of the month. It was February 29th, leap year. Yay. And she was doing all of her business stuff. So I said, let me get the kids out of the house so she can stay busy and keep working. We went to the park, and Riley, she bought the skateboard a while ago. We brought that, and we brought a basketball because kids like to play basketball. And we were there for like an hour. And I was playing basketball with Riley, Kinsley, and Corbin, and Tristan was off on a skateboard, like somewhere else, like just on nearly flat ground. And all of a sudden he falls down, and Riley and Kinsley are like, oh, Tristan fell down, and he's, you know, hooping and hollering over there. He's, you know, playing it up.
Hooping and hollering.
I don't know, like he was. And I was like, oh man, like I know how Tristan is. And if you've ever seen that, there's that scene in Family Guy where Peter's on the ground. He's like, he skins his knee or whatever it is, and he's like, like it hurts really bad, and he's there for like a minute long. That's how I felt Tristan was. Like he was just hamming it up, and it was just like,
oh really?
I thought he was over exaggerating. So he fell. He was on the skateboard and he fell. I got over there. Well, I didn't even get over there yet. This other guy ran up to him because he doesn't know. Like Tristan exaggerates sometimes, and he doesn't know. So that guy thinks that it's, you know, serious, and he runs up to him. And he's like, hey, I think you should come over here. I think something's really wrong. And I was like, oh, okay. So I got over there, and everything looked okay at first, like initially. And Tristan was trying to get up, and I was like, no, stay down. And then I looked at his foot, and it was, his left ankle was just.
Turned the wrong way.
Turned the wrong way.
So then you call me.
Oh, I called Julie. Super calm.
Yeah, super calm. And he's like, I guess one thing you got to kind of know about me is that I tend to, I'm not the calm one in the family. Like Jay's the calm one. When things happen with the kids, I'm like, what do I have to do? Let's go get, you know, like I'm all nervous and like, what do you mean? What happened? Asking like 1,000 questions. And he calls me, and all he says is, get ready. I think Tristan broke his ankle. Isn't that what you said?
No, I was like, Tristan broke his ankle.
And I was like, okay. That's all I said.
There was no question.
No, I wasn't like, what do you mean? What happened? All that. I didn't say anything. I was just like, okay, because I could hear it in his voice too.
Yeah, and on the drive home, I told the kids, like, there's a plan. Like, let's plan this whole thing out already.
Yeah. No, you should explain how you got him to the car.
Oh, yeah. Well, so he's in not the middle of the park, but there's no way to drive to where he's at, and he's
Tristan's an 8th grader.
Eighth
so
grade,
we can get the full picture here.
5'10".
Yes. Same height as you.
165
probably. 165 pounds, maybe 170.
Wet.
Yeah.
I'd say he's 150, maybe
really?
45.
Okay.
That's what I say.
He's a tall kid.
Yeah, tall enough kid. Most people think that he's in high school.
Yeah, 14.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out a way, like, how do I get the van close enough to him so that we can get him into the car? I drive it over to one side of the park, and it's about a good 40, 50 yard like walk to get to where he's at. So I go over there, and this guy who doesn't look like he works out ever comes up to me and says, hey, do you want me to help lift him? And I was like, no, because I don't want to injure or for him to get injured in the process, and
so you said no,
or to drop him.
You're like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm good. I'll take care of it. I didn't want him to drop him.
Yeah.
Like, because if he already had a broken ankle, then you drop him. Like me, if it's on me. If he would have dropped him, I would have been upset.
Which, side note, how awesome is it that someone came up in the first place? I mean, this is pre-social distancing.
Yeah. Most people just mind their own business.
Yes, most people would be like, they got it.
Yeah, so I appreciate that.
So that's really cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that about him. But like, I was like, hey, I don't want to be upset at you if you all of a sudden lose your strength and you drop my son while you know, I just didn't want to be upset at the guy. So I was like, no, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And if I drop him, I'm going to be mad at myself. So
But you didn't tell them that.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't go through all that.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Okay. In the moment.
But if he's watching this, then he's gonna be like, that guy, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Now I know why you said no.
Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
So I'm glad I work out because I had to pick him up by myself.
From the ground.
So a deadlift from the ground. And body dead weight is different than a deadlift of dead weight on the ground. It's completely different because it's not all even.
Yeah.
And it's all like kind of awkward. And then, and picking up another grown man is weird in general. So, but I picked him up and, walked him over to the car. It was about, I'd say 40 yards, not 50, probably 40 yards.
Far still far.
Yeah, still far. And then that's when I got in the car and called Julie at that time.
Oh, you did? You called me from the car.
I called you from the car.
Oh, I don't know why I imagined it that you
while
were
I was walking.
I imagined it before you even got to the car. I don't know why.
That's G right there. I'm walking with him and calling you at the same time.
You could have had your AirPods in.
Okay, no, didn't do that. As we're driving home, like I already had this plan. Like, okay, Riley, you're gonna get a bag for Tristan, and Corbin, you're gonna go get some clothes because I already know how it works because Kinsley broke her arm.
Yeah.
So I know that it's an overnight thing. So I said, Kinsley, you get him some water so he can drink something because I know he's not going to be able to eat for 24 hours. So get him something to drink. Corbin, get him a change of clothes. And then Riley, make sure you help mom and get whatever else, she needs for her go bag.
Yeah, I was trying to like pack everything. But I mean, I wasn't sure how long we would be around. I mean, I didn't know. I hadn't even seen him yet. So I didn't know how bad it was.
Yeah, I was for sure like he's going to need surgery and all this kind of stuff. Ugh. Because it was twisted sideways. It wasn't like it was just like it was full.
So by the time Jay gets back to the house, Tristan has been post injury 10 minutes maybe. And we're trying to hurry up at the house. I'm packing up my bag at home. Like, what am I going to need? Looking like a hot mess because it was the last day of the month. I'm like, whatever. Jay and I get in the car. The rest of the kids stay home.
Hold on. Before that, something everybody has to understand is that I get weak to stuff like that. And I was outside. Everybody went in the house. Tristan was still inside the van, but I was outside just straight dry heaving because just the thought and him in agony. Like,
he was in so much pain. You could tell.
Like I was a mess too. So.
Like he comes in and I'm like getting stuff ready inside the house. And he comes in, and I full on thought he threw up in the bathroom because he was like in there. I thought that he'd thrown up, but he says it was just dry heaves. But he didn't let Tristan know. And at this point, I'm like, I don't think I can look. Like I don't think I want to look because Jay's just saying if it's that bad where he's gonna go in the bathroom and throw up. I'm like, I don't think I can look at it. So I get all my stuff together, and Tristan's in the second, in the van, the middle part. In a captain's chair. And I'm like, okay, I don't think I can look at it until we get to the hospital. But by this time, it had been at least 10 minutes. I know that the closest hospital to us is down the street, but I wasn't thinking about like, he's a kid. Who knows if they'll be able to help him there. I was just thinking we need to get to the closest place possible. He's in a lot of pain. So we go to the closest hospital. And there's really not that many people in the waiting room. There's like maybe 3 people in the waiting room. So I'm like, okay, good. He'll be able to get back there. So now mind you, Jay stopped working the 1st of February. So we were trying to figure out insurance situation and we can touch on that later, but
maybe
there'll be a long video if we do. So I'm checking him in and I'm like, he's in so much pain. He's not crying. He's sitting so calm. We got a wheelchair. He's so calm, but you can tell like he's focused on his breathing. He is in pain. You can tell. And your mom instincts by then, I was calm for the whole time. I was like, okay, I can do this. We're like, I wasn't freaking out, but seeing your child in a wheelchair in that much pain, I was like, oh, hell no. Like, people need to give him some medicine. And so I kept going to like the front desk because I'm like, on my side, now I don't know how it is back in the back, but on my side, I'm like, this kid needs some pain meds, like some real. So I'm telling Jay, maybe you need to go to Target, which is across the street, and get him Tylenol or something because he needs something for the pain. Mm-hmm. So he does. He goes to Target.
Yeah, but I go there, and by the time I get back, they already have him in the back room, and they gave him something so much better.
Yeah,
Dilaudid.
Dilaudid. Like, so they went in, and
it went straight into him.
Yeah, they gave him an IV. By the time we got back there, it had been probably an hour since he had done it. Poor kid, man. He had to endure that kind of pain for that long.
Yeah, and he definitely went into shock because he I don't know whether he watched videos on like what you do when you're in pain, but like he was like paying attention to how he was breathing for sure. He was like, I need to take in like deep breaths and all that kind of stuff. But his hands were shaking and his other foot was shaking. So I knew that he was like just gone.
So much
like,
pain.
Yeah.
Oh, I still think about it. I'm like, can picture him inside that waiting room. And I'm like, what is happening? Come on, get him back here. Can't you see his foot is literally pointing the wrong direction?
Yeah. It was.
Come on. Help him. So anyway, we get to the back and they finally give him some pain meds, which like if you've ever had to have surgery or whatever, they give him Dilaudid and it works in like seconds.
Yeah.
So then they do an x-ray and, you know, I'm thinking maybe he broke something for his foot, or maybe, I don't know, his foot was going the wrong direction. So I thought maybe he broke one bone.
But he even before he broke his ankle, when he rests.
Yeah.
He kind of sits pigeon.
His feet go out. No, pigeon is forward. So he keeps his legs out anyway.
Okay.
And so anyway, she does the x-ray and she comes back and she's like, he's broke it in at least, what'd she say, 4 places. In at least 4 places and 1 is dislocated. And I'm like, okay. So then she says, we're not going to be able to treat him here. We're going to have to take him to Oakland Children's via ambulance. And I should have known better because when Kinsley broke her arm that we had to go through the same scenario. We went to the local hospital. Then we had to go to Oakland Children's. But like in the moment, I was just thinking, I need to get him somewhere fast. So
yeah. And I don't want to like take like a stance and say, hey, this is what we should have done instead.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know whether we should have drove to Oakland, which is an hour away, which would have been the same wait that we did wait.
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't have to have double paperwork and almost.
I mean, we were just trying to get him taken care of the closest. Yeah. We did the best we could in the situation that we had. So then I guess the way that it works in our small little town is that, you know, you can't get an ambulance right away. They had to go back and forth between this other hospital in Modesto. And then,
it was like there was
crazy.
One ambulance that was doing everything.
Yeah.
And they had to do 2 other things before they took our kid. And the thing that I thought about it was like, yeah, there might be 2 other things that are more important. Like there's more like dire needs somewhere else, but like this is my kid.
I know.
So to me, it feels like this is the greatest need. I mean, those other things could have been anything. It could have been, you know, like a transplant that they were.
Oh yeah, we don't know.
Transplant they needed to bring quickly,
right,
or something like that, and that's fine. I mean, that's what
I'm sure it was something. But for us, I waited in that first hospital for 5 hours, and mind you, but when this all happened, it was about lunchtime, and I hadn't eaten lunch, and so I was like calling Jay, like, can you just come back and bring me dinner? You know. So by the time we left that hospital. And Tristan and I went in the ambulance to Oakland. We arrived at Oakland 10 minutes before midnight. And it happened at like lunch. So it was a long day of waiting. But he was a champ, man. He was really great about everything. So we get to Oakland Children's. And they are changing their entire system over.
The computer system.
Their computer, everything. So the way they input like all the notes and whatever inside of their system, they're redoing it all. And so Tristan and I are the first ones to be there, like as their like guinea pigs. But I will say that the nurse that we had when we came in was fantastic. Like he was so good and attentive. And he told me and explained like the whole situation and what was happening. But he's like, I'll never forget you guys because you're the first one I had when the system went over, you know. And it was just when COVID was starting to be talked about in California. There was no restrictions or anything yet, but like he was like, we haven't had it here, but I'm sure we will. So anyway, Oakland Children's is a great hospital. I knew that at least by then we would have a good amount of care for him.
Yeah.
So I was trying to stay in touch with Tristan, but it was really late. So they had to call a orthopedic surgeon, and I think we waited 5 hours until she came, another 5 hours, and we're in the triage still of the ER this entire time. So Tristan's able to sleep, but I'm like sitting on a chair next to him because there's nothing, you know, it's a triage room. So anyway, by the time she comes in, she says, we're going to, you guys, I don't know all the words, but like, we're going to try and pull his leg so his bone goes back together. What do they call that?
Huh? Like
they have to pull his leg so that the bone pieces go back in line.
Oh, just reset it.
Yes, but there's like a term for that.
Yes.
Anyway,
it.
so I was like, really? Because so they do new sets of x-rays, and she's like, most likely he's going to need surgery, but we want to try this first. And I was like, okay, I mean, you know, they're the people. But I remember from Kinsley that they give you this medicine that makes you kind of loopy, but you're still awake. And it was so creepy with Kinsley. I saw her go through that. So I was like, I just don't want to see that. Please don't make me, you know, see that part. It's even thinking about it, it's just like it's just weird. Their eyes are all open, but they're not there. Like, it's so weird. So anyway, I was asking the questions, like, for me, I don't know anything about medical stuff, but I was like, if he needs surgery, why are you going to move it? I guess I thought, why can't you just take care of it all at one time? But the way that she was explaining it to me was that it's easier to put it back in place outside of the bones, I guess, than putting it back in place in surgery. So
yeah, because if you open it up, then now everything has more room to move. So like, if you're resetting it within like the channels that it already exists in, it's easier to set it. And then if you open it, you just But she said at the time, surgery is likely because it usually, if they're setting it in that way, that his kind of break goes back, because he broke through one of the growth plates, and it was like a lot. His ankle, and I don't know, like a bunch of different bones. So it was like a lot of things. So he broke his ankle, but he broke the major bone in his shin.
Yes.
So the very bottom, he broke the front and the back.
Yeah. Whatever that's called in technical terms, I don't know. So we waited. I hadn't slept at all. And then we got into a room that was shared at, I think it was 8 or 9 a.m. of the next day. And I was exhausted. I mean, exhausted. And that was, so I tried to sleep on one of those really hard hospital chairs. And I did
Wasn't it like some sort of convertible chair that converts into a bed? Yeah, it converts into a bed. And luckily Jay had gotten sleep that night because he was home with the kids. And so he came to the hospital, I think around 1:00. And then I went home and got some rest. And then Tristan had surgery that night. I think we waited a whole nother day.
Oh, did we?
We waited a full another day. So he was with a broken leg or ankle for almost 48 hours.
You were supposed to go in at 3 or something, and then they had some other person come in. But I think he still had it that night. And I came back the next. So I spent one night, Jay spent one night, and then I spent another night, and then he came home.
I don't remember.
Yeah. He chose a really bright orange cast and was non-weight bearing for 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
And then just recently, this past week, Jay went to the hospital again for the follow-up, which was so different than any of the other trips now, especially with the coronavirus everywhere.
Yeah. When you go there, they have you wear masks. They ask you a bunch of questions. It was kind of off-putting to me because the lady that was checking us in asked us questions like, hey, have you been outside of California in the past 2 weeks, right? Then I listened to her talk to the next person, and she said, hey, have you been out of the country in the last 2 weeks? And I was like, okay. And then the next person she asked, she said, did you do any international travel in the past 2 weeks? And I'm like, well,
Which one is it?
yeah, are you going to be consistent?
Mm-hmm.
One of them, and then she said like out of the county, like she kept changing where you traveled, and I'm like, what kind of like consistency is this? Like,
Yeah.
so who cares? So if you say no, I didn't travel out of the state, or no, I didn't travel out of the country, but I did travel out of the state, then like I don't know, like she just kept getting like smaller and smaller with like the area.
She probably forgot what she was supposed to ask.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
maybe she was trying to memorize it and look professional, and it didn't work out. But anyways,
his first follow up, we went together, and I mean, she showed us an X-ray of the bones, and the one in the shin, like it still had a major gap there, and that made me nervous. Like, what the heck? How is that healing? But Jay was there for this last one, and to me, when I saw the X-ray, it still looked bad, but the surgeon seemed okay with the progress, right?
Yeah, I think he's doing fine. I it's just, man, going through it a second time, you think, oh, the first time was freak accident. I mean, it's always a freak accident, but the second time. So with Kinsley, with her arm the first time, and then Tristan now, I didn't experience her broken arm as much as you did, because you did pretty much almost everything for that.
Yeah.
But with Tristan, like actually being there and watching him in pain, like the thoughts that went through my head, like, man, like I was sitting there thinking, what I wouldn't do to trade the pain for him. Like, let me take on the pain so you don't have to go through that pain. And then, like, of course, you still have to do the surgery, but can I hold the pain for a little while so that you don't have to do that, to endure that?
Yeah. And it put it in perspective for me when, I was at the hospital and kind of irritated that I had to wait so long, and tired and exhausted. And by the time we got to the room, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. And we had a shared room, and I wasn't sure. I was like, oh no, I'm not going to get any sleep, right? And I went to go wash my hands on the half part of mine, and I saw a sign, and the kid next to us had cancer. And it did put it in perspective for me, like, yes, what Tristan went through is traumatic. Yes, what he went through was awful. Like, I'm so sad for him. It's probably going to be something he has to deal with for his whole life, like rehabbing it and all that stuff. But there's a kid next to us who has cancer and is fighting for his life. Like, it was just like really eye-opening for me. And one thing that I did remember when we were in the hospital is literally every single doctor, nurse, anyone who would come in and check on us was like, were you wearing a helmet? And he was, and Jay had made him wear a helmet. He always does. But, it could have been so much worse if he would have, like, they were like, are you sure you didn't hit your head? And he was like, oh no, I was wearing a helmet. And they were like, your foot, you can heal, you can heal your foot. You can heal a broken body part, but you can't heal a broken brain, Yeah. So that was one thing that really stood out to me. I know, like, kids push back on helmets a lot. They think that it's not fashionable or whatever. And I think that was one thing for me that I was like, wow, it does not matter what they want. Like, they need to be making sure that they have helmets on. So anyway, they were like very proud of him that he had a helmet, and he's been a champ on those crutches. I'll say that. So he's now in a walking cast.
Yeah. There's those two families that have both their daughters. They got brain injury, one off the golf cart, another one off on a skateboard. Yeah. Off by themselves. Well, not by themselves, but without the parent supervision, and weren't wearing helmets. And now they are in not a completely vegetative state, but like.
The second one went home and is walking and talking.
Oh, really? Wow, that's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, but still both didn't have, I mean, one of them was in a golf cart. You wouldn't be wearing a helmet in that. It was just a freak accident. But you think about that, and that's like one thing where I'm like, wow, you really, we have to push back on our kids for wearing helmets.
I came to two different realizations during this. So the first was, okay, Tristan's in this much pain, and this is how much it hurts, like me, to see my kid in pain. And he's not even dying. He's just in pain. And I think to bring it, I mean, this is Threefold podcast. So to bring a threefold perspective on it, spiritually, like God giving his son to die for us, like giving him up, like not just being in pain, but full on dying and not being able to stop it. Like for us, like when Tristan's there with his ankle and like we just give him medicine and the pain stops. But for Jesus to go through that entire thing and for God to not even give him anything, to give him a helping hand, nothing. It's just like, no, forsake him, turn your back on him. You have to go through the whole thing. The pain that God giving up his son to death, like that's, I couldn't even imagine that when my son for an hour is having pain.
You're like, I do something. Like I don't like seeing that in pain for an hour.
Yeah. And then the second thing is sometimes we are in a place where we want to do something that seems cool to us or okay to us. Or even just like our kids. Oh, I want to ride a skateboard and I don't want to wear a helmet. Well, because it's not cool or it's not what I want to do. And us as parents, we tell them, no, here's what you need to do because it's going to protect you. They don't understand that, but it's when the moment happens and, your kid thinks, oh, you don't love me because you want me to look stupid or whatever. Or even like what good parent doesn't tell their kid, don't touch a hot stove?
Yeah.
Because
boiling water.
We understand that that's going to burn you. So we tell you no. And that's sometimes no is a loving answer to give.
Yeah.
And oftentimes for me, I'm like, God, well, why don't you just give me this? Why don't you just let me have that? Why don't you just let me do this? And he's not saying no because he doesn't want me to, he wants me to enjoy my life. So he says no because, Jay, just simmer down now. That is going to hurt you.
He sees the bigger picture.
I see that. You don't see that.
Yeah.
Just listen to me and understand that. And so for me, like, man, like I want to know. I want to know why, but sometimes it's just like, God knows better. Let me just be obedient and just do the thing or not do the thing that he's asking me to do. And like, I find myself in that, like today where you and I are in a place where we're trying to transition to different parts in life. And I feel like I can just go do something right now. But God is putting us in a place where we're like, just wait, just hold on.
Waiting's hard.
Just wait. Yeah.
I feel like we've been waiting for 10 years.
You're the queen of patience.
I'm not good at that.
So.
Well, actually, I'm not going to say I'm not good at it. I've worked on patience and I'm way better than I was.
Let's talk about that. What do you, give me an example.
Well, I just feel like this is going to go in a whole nother way now.
Yeah.
In like where we live, I've wanted to move for a lot of years. A lot of years. And I think I had to change my perspective. Like I did. I wanted to move. And so I wasn't content with where I was. So everything about being here felt like I need to get out. Like I can't be here anymore. And so I was praying about it and trying to change my attitude about it. And so God was like, I want you to be content. And so that was actually my word for last year was content, because I felt like that was something that he was speaking to me, is be content with where you're at. And so I spent the whole year with that word in my brain and like thinking about that word and what being content meant. And I really did start to see the good in where we're at, the people that we're surrounded with, the church that we go to, all that. And kind of became more content with where we're at physically and spiritually. That helped that all that was intertwined, I would say. But I think I'm at the point now where I'm like itching to go again. Like just
2019
ready.
is over. It's 2020.
I know, right? I already worked on the being content. I don't know. I think sometimes it's even harder now where, you're home full time with me and we literally could go anywhere we want at all. And I think sometimes that's a little bit overwhelming, like, not knowing exactly where we should go or where we should land. But we talk about that all the time. And I think sometimes people put God's will in this small little box of this small thing of one choice that could be God's will. And if you're not in that one choice, you're outside of God's will. And I don't believe that's true. I don't know if you want to expand on that.
No, we have free will. You can choose whatever you want. I think God's answer to us with almost anything that we do is do whatever it is that you're going to decide to do, but make sure that you're following me and you're serving me and obeying me.
Mm-hmm. And I think that, there's lots of variables for where we're at right now, where family live, and we moved back here from Georgia so that we would be around family. And, we're definitely homebodies. So I don't know. I just want to make the right decision for where we want to go. And so sometimes that can be a little bit overwhelming, but we've been praying about it. So We will see what happens.
What's your word for 2020? Don't you have one?
I do.
You forgot it already?
I
COVID-19 erased
I
it?
think COVID, I like literally cannot remember it right this second. It'll come to me.
Okay. Well,
Oh
that's
my
cool.
gosh. How do I not remember it? Oh, Lord.
Well, hey, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you in the next episode.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
See ya.